MasyaALLAH, tabarakallah, kita berjumpa lagi dengan RKTV, channel kesayangan kita semua. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Kali ini kita akan menyaksikan seorang warga Singapura yang bernama Hidayah, atau sudah berganti nama menjadi Firdaus. Dia merupakan seorang Mualaf Chinese yang tinggal di Singapura. Dia mendapatkan petunjuk melalui sebuah mimpi yang terjadi berulang kali. Jadi dia mendapatkan hidayah ini dari membuka sebuah alquran, membuka alquran secara acak. Nah, dari situlah dia mendapatkan sebuah hidayah, masyaALLAH, tabarakallah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jumpa lagi bersama RKTV, saluran istiqomah bernuansa Islami.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, my name is Harold. You also can call me Firdaus. I'm all the way from Singapore and I'm 33 years old this year. My ethnicity is Chinese, so you can also call me a Singaporean Chinese. And currently what I'm doing working full-time as right now is I'm doing corporate communications. And I reverted to Islam on the 2nd of November 2014. So that's...
Firdaus ini masuk Islam sudah sejak November tahun 2014. Jadi boleh dibilang ini sudah tahun 2021. Sudah 7 tahun Firdaus ini menjadi seorang mu'alaf.
Previously, before I became a Muslim, I was born and baptized a Catholic. I've been to church with my dad every Sunday for their mass services. And also been to all their catechism classes till I was 18 years old. But what stopped me from continuing this journey as a Catholic was when I studied abroad in Australia. I took on an elective called philosophy, and I started to question a lot about what I was taught in the church and what do Christians really believe. That's when I come to a realization that I do not believe that Jesus is divine and that he was just a man, and therefore it deconstructed everything that...
seorang Tuhan, melainkan dia adalah seorang manusia, seperti itu. Ya, mari kita saksikan lagi.
I previously understood about Christianity and how I view Jesus in my life. I do not believe he's God, and that in essence took me out of the fold of Christianity. I also did not agree with a lot of the other practices that I practice in church, so I became an atheist, someone who actually didn't believe in any religion.
Nah, jadi oleh karena itu dia menjadi seorang ateis karena dia tidak percaya bahwa Yesus itu adalah seorang Tuhan, seperti itu. Jadi dia memilih untuk menjadi ateis, jadi tidak memiliki sebuah kepercayaan kepada Tuhan, seperti itu.
Point of time, I studied other philosophies and believed that I could make myself happy and everyone else around me happy. I would be leading a happy life and I would probably die happy. So I've done everything that I can in Australia. I partied hard with my friends and studied hard also, of course, but all I did was try to bring positivity into my life and to everyone else's life. But that wasn't enough, because one day I got a call from my parents in Singapore and they told me that my grandma passed away. And that got me to question, if I could bring so much positivity into my life, why is it that I could not control death? And death was something that is really sad. So I wondered really hard, who is in control of death? If I was...
Nah, jadi Firdaus ini dia bertanya-tanya tentang siapa sih yang mengendalikan kematian ini, karena dia melihat ada kematian dan kehidupan, seperti itu.
I was in control of my own destiny, why couldn't I control death? And that was when I started to believe that there's actually a supreme being out there. But I do not want anyone to tell me, or any religion to tell me, who this supreme being is. Because I believe that all religions at that point in time was just a human construct, something that we made to comfort ourselves to get through life. And so I just became an agnostic. I led a life without a religion. I thought that as long as I believed there's a God, it was enough. But it was not enough, because what is the true measurement of goodness? I couldn't measure goodness based on my terms, but what is God's terms of goodness? So I went back to Singapore after completing my graduation in Australia, and that's when I met a colleague of mine at my first job. She's a Malay and a Muslim, and we started to develop a friendship, and that friendship got further on into developing more feelings for each other. So when that happened, I told her up front that you are a Muslim and I'm not a Muslim, so I don't think our relationship can actually go any further. And that was when she told me, why do I not give Islam a chance to explain itself to me, and I should do my own research. So she invited me to Darul Akam Singapore, which is the Muslim Converts Association in Singapore, to go and find out about Islam on my own. And of course, I was being arrogant and thinking that, I'm probably going to get all the answers right. I'm going to question the teacher over there, and the teacher will not be able to answer my questions because they're going to be deep questions, questions that, a philosopher would ask. So I went for their basic course to Islam. That's when I tried to understand a bit about the religion. And she told me that, at the end of the class, you can write down all your questions that you have and just ask the teacher, which was also known as the Ustaz at the time. So that was Ustaz Saifur Rahman, who I met in class. At the end of his lesson, I prepared 3 questions for him. I asked him the first one, which was, why do you say there's only one God? Why do you not say?
Nah, jadi di sini dia bertemu dengan seorang temannya. Jadi temannya itu merupakan seorang yang beragama Islam, yang mengatakan kepadanya bahwa Tuhan itu adalah satu, seperti itu.
There's 2 or 3 or 4 gods. Why do you believe in just one God? And the answer he gave me was quite logical, which I thought was amazing. He said that if there were a God that created your head, a God that created the human hands, and a God that created the human legs, which God will say that they are powerful enough to create the perfect human body? The God that created the human head would say, I'm better because man could think and create ideas and concepts because of my power. The God of the human hands would say, no, in fact, I am much better because I feed the man. And the God that created the human legs would say, it's me that's much better actually, because of my powers, man can travel great distances to find food and to feed himself, to shelter himself. So they will come into a point where they have an argument, and they will compete to be the best God that will create a human body. And that was when I realized that, wouldn't it make more sense that if we have one all-powerful God that created all things?
Dari sini dia mulai berpikir bahwa ketika kalau Tuhan itu ada beberapa, maka dia akan saling mengklaim. Misalnya menciptakan tangan ini, Tuhan ini menciptakan otak, kita ini Tuhan yang satunya lagi, dan mereka akan saling mengklaim seperti itu. Jadi Firdaus ini berpikirnya seperti itu, maka dia percaya dan yakin bahwa Tuhan itu memang satu.
But it wasn't convincing enough, so he gave me a second example, which was, imagine you have your computer set up at home. You have the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse. Don't they all need a power source to start them up? So the concept of one God made a lot of sense to me. And that was how I came to understand how.
Jadi dia mulai meyakini bahwa konsep satu Tuhan adalah hal yang benar, seperti itu. MasyaALLAH, tabarakallah.
Tauhid in Islam, which is the concept of one God, and started to believe in the oneness of God. So I went on to ask him my second question, and that is, Why do Muslims say Allah is God and not Jesus or Buddha or any other name that they can choose? Why Allah? And so he said simply that the word Allah in Arabic means the God. And he said that coming from a Christian perspective, if you were to believe that Jesus is God, can God actually die? Because the word divinity in the dictionary would mean that he's immortal and he can't die. And what happens if he die? Would the world be able to function without God? Would creation just collapse and be destroyed without a creator? And that started to open my eyes a bit. But I wasn't fully convinced. And then he said, does God need to sacrifice his son in order to forgive all your sins? Would it be more merciful coming from a God that says, I forgive you the moment you ask for forgiveness? Would a God be more merciful to forgive you if you ask for forgiveness? And that made a lot of sense to me, because why do we need to have a human sacrifice in order for God to forgive us? So I said, okay, Jesus is not God, so what about Buddha? And he gave me a simple answer to that also. They say from his understanding about Buddhism is that Buddha did not even say or claim that he is God. From the holy scriptures of the Buddhist, Buddha was teaching a way of life, how to live a good life, and very much how to be a good person in this world with the absence of God. And that made sense to me. Why can't we live a good life without having God? And he said, how can a creation exist without a creator? If there's no creator, there would be no creation. And so Islam felt really complete to me. So I went on to ask him my third question, and that is, what do Muslims believe in? Why Allah? Who is Allah? And he said, Allah to the Muslims is that He is the one and only creator of the heavens and the earth, the eternal and the absolute. He neither begets nor is He begotten. And nothing in this world or anywhere else can be compared to Him. And that is the fundamentals, the basic of understanding who God is to the Muslims. And that made a lot of sense to me, because if God, the Supreme Being, the all-powerful Being, is all-powerful and almighty, how can anything physical or anything in this world be compared to Him? Take for instance, we have our five senses, and they're all limited. What we can see, it's probably only 180 degrees the most. Our taste buds going to taste certain palates, and our hearing, certain decibels, we can't hear them. Everything that we have in this world is limited. And the universe is something that is infinite. So how can we use something finite to measure something that is infinite? And if we believe in an all-powerful and everlasting God, creator of the heavens and the earth, how can we then limit all His power using our limited senses, saying that He's a man, or by saying He's anything else in this world? It would only be a fraction of who He really is. And that's why I came to that realization, but I wasn't really ready to be a Muslim yet, because there's a whole lifestyle to live if I wanted to be a Muslim. But I was still studying about Islam. I went to study about the prophets, all the prophets of Islam, what do Muslims practice in their daily lives. And I found that the hardest thing to do would be fasting, because I've never fasted my whole life. And also, I did not want to keep my girlfriend.
Jadi sebelum dia masuk Islam, jadi waktu itu pada bulan Ramadan dia mulai belajar untuk melakukan puasa di bulan Ramadan, seperti itu. MasyaALLah.
Time from waiting. So I thought I should give her an answer soon if I really wanted to be a Muslim, and whether this relationship should go on. So I thought to myself, I should take on the challenge and try to fast, since the month of Ramadan is around the corner, and to use this opportunity to see if I can really go through the fasting month. And Alhamdulillah, Ramadan came. I tried to fast, and I managed to do all the 30 days of fasting. I was so amazed that I could do it.
Dia bisa melakukan puasa selama 30 hari di bulan Ramadan. Namun di saat itu dia belum melakukan syahadat.
And somewhere around the last week of the holy month of Ramadan, so this is the turning point of the whole story. I had a dream that I was walking down a hallway towards a man who was sitting on a couch, and he had this really warm presence towards him, a welcoming smile. I felt really invited to get closer to him. So I went towards him and he smiled at me. And all he said was, "Brother, when are you going to be part of the family?" And immediately I woke up after that question. I started to think to myself, maybe I've been reading too much about Islam, maybe I've been doing too much research on it, that I started to have these dreams. And on the same day, a Muslim friend of mine invited me out for dinner. And we had dinner and he said, "Hey, Harold, I've been seeing you going to the conversion center to learn about Islam. My friend's name is Ibrahim, by the way. Are you thinking of becoming a Muslim?" And I thought it was quite a coincidence that I had a dream the night before, and now, he's asking me this question. But I wasn't ready to embrace Islam. I was just thinking it's a coincidence. I went home that night. MashaALLAH, amazingly, I had the same dream again. It was a recurring dream. So I woke up, I remember it was a Saturday morning.
Nah, jadi dia mengatakan bahwa mimpi pertama dia hanya menerka atau mengira bahwa karena dia terlalu banyak membaca buku-buku tentang Islam, jadi dia tidak menggubris mimpi tersebut. Namun mimpi yang sama pun terulang lagi untuk kedua kalinya.
When I woke up around 8 or 9 in the morning, I sat on my bed and said, "This can't be happening. This dream is happening again." And I think maybe God is asking me to do something about it. So I took the Bible out and the Quran. I was given the English translation of the Quran. And I set it on my bed at first and looked at both of these books and said a simple prayer before I begin. I said, "Dear God, I believe in you. You are the all-powerful, the almighty, creator of the heavens and the earth. With your power and your might, you can do anything in this world. Even at this point, when I'm sincerely seeking your help, when I sincerely need to know the truth, I'm tired of my old ways and I really want to start a new life. I want a life of clarity, a life of truth. I needed to really know if this is the way. I'm sorry, God. Please forgive me for my arrogance in testing you. I hope that you can please."
Nah, jadi Firdaus ini merasa bersalah karena dia telah menguji Tuhan seperti itu. Jadi menurut saya pribadi pun ini bukanlah sebuah kesalahan, namun merupakan pembuktian pencarian jati dirinya. Dia ingin kemana, seperti itu.
Please show me the way. I'm going to flip the Bible and the Quran 3 times randomly. And whichever verse or passage that my eyes set upon, I pray that you give me clear guidance, that is, this is the truth. That it will be crystal clear, a message from you saying that this is the truth. Just follow me. Or saying that this is the way. It should not be something that I should infer or something that I should guess. It has to be very clear. And I'll follow you. So I started with the Bible because thinking that, I was first baptized a Catholic, so I took up the Bible. And I closed my eyes and randomly flipped the page. And the first thing that I saw, I couldn't really remember everything about it, but it was really hard to make sense of it because the Bible is made up of many stories. And I do not want to wrongly interpret the passage, because a particular passage that you read can be interpreted 10 different times at least. They could also be many versions to that same passage. And from the Bible versions, some of the passages that I see in one Bible would not appear in the other one. So I just read the text and it did not speak to me. and I closed the book. I did it for the next 2 and 3 times. And for all 3 times, I did not get an answer. So I closed the book and I said, okay, it's time. I should give the Quran a chance now. I pick up the Quran, I put the Bible down, close my eyes again, and randomly flip a page. And the first thing that my eyes saw was this passage from Surah Al-Hajj, which is chapter 22, verse 54 of the Quran. And in Arabic it goes, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وليعلم الذين أوتوا العلم أنه الحق من ربك فيؤمنوا به فتخبت له قلوبهم وإن الله لهادي الذين آمنوا إلى صراط مستقيم. And the English translation of it goes, and so those who were given knowledge may know that this is the truth from your Lord and believe in it, and their hearts humbly submit to it. For indeed is Allah, the guide of those who believe to a straight path. And I still didn't want to believe at that point in time. I thought that this might still be a coincidence. But the words were sinking into my heart. And I said, I'm going to give it another try. So I closed the book, closed my eyes again, and randomly opened up the book. And this time I was brought to a totally different page, a different chapter altogether. Surah Fussilat, which is chapter 41, verse 53 of the Holy Quran. And in Arabic it goes, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق أولم يكف بربك أنه على كل شيء شهيد. And the English translation of it is, and we show them our signs in the horizon and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth from your Lord. But is it not sufficient that Allah is over all things a witness? I was completely blown away.
Nah, Masya Allah, Firdaus ini sangat terenyuh dan sangat terpesona dengan ayat-ayat suci Al-Quran, sehingga dalam tidur pun ia terbawa-bawa dengan indahnya lantunan ayat suci Al-Quran. Masya Allah, tabarakallah.
Second verse and the first verse was like part of a bigger conversation that I was having with God. It was like the creator of the heavens and the earth was speaking directly to me, and it was so amazing and mesmerizing and powerful at the same time. It wasn't like a bad feeling of being terrified, but it was a feeling of awe. And I didn't want to test God the third time. It was wrong. So I immediately humbled myself and said, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Lord. Please forgive me. I'm really thankful and grateful that you answered my prayers and you've shown me the way. Please, Lord, please accept me and make me one of your believers. And that was when I had no excuse. I just decided to take the leap of faith, because you don't know when death is going to come for you. And having shown the truth, how can I still deny it? So I immediately called Darul Akam Singapore and told them I was interested to be a Muslim. Is there a way for me to be one, and how do I go about it? And I had to wait for a month before I went to get my conversion done. But during this whole time, I was really grateful, and I felt at peace knowing that I've come to the truth. And so on the 2nd of November 2014, I went to Dari, Singapore, and I was really blessed to be given this Hidayah from Allah, and I took my Shahada. And the feeling right after I said those words in the declaration of faith, I felt a wave of emotion overpowering me, and it was like mercy. It was like your heart started to feel so much at peace and at ease, and love coming into your heart. I just felt so close to a presence that loves me, that would embrace me and would say, I've always loved you. And I was kind of crying inside my heart. It's really hard to describe this until you said Shahada. But that moment was really something I'd never felt before. So after taking my Shahada, I was also blessed to have my girlfriend there and my family. She was really happy, of course. And before the Shahada, I told my girlfriend that I went through this dream and I have decided to be a Muslim, and she was so happy. She came to me and said, how many nights I've prayed for you to see the beauty of Islam, to come to see the truth. And Allah has answered the prayers. So it was so amazing. And masyaALLAH, a few years down the road, we got married, and now we have our first child. So I'm just really happy and glad that Allah put her in my path to invite me to Islam, and Allah opened up my heart. After it was sealed for so many years, He opened up my heart and said, it's time for you to come home. And I just felt like I had finally come home. I hope sharing has been beneficial for you. I'd like to wish all of you Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
MasyaALLAH, tabarakallah. Jadi itulah cerita Firdaus yang berasal dari Singapura. Nah, sungguh indah, sangat luar biasa.